Welcome to Interstellar Cosmic Conversations, where we share experiences from our hearts to empower others. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Interstellar Cosmic Conversations. Tonight we have our new guest, Gavin Beddow, who's coming out of the closet. He is embracing his sovereign being, and he has wanted to have a conversation about free will versus determinism. He's got a big heart and a busy mind, as I shared on Facebook. And what I love about him is he's able to have a conversation with anyone and respect their point of view and share his. And this is his time to shine. This is his time to come out and just share what his truths are and how he sees this reality. And so I want to welcome you, Gav.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So you're asking me to speak.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. Before we go into anything deep, well, this is going to be deep anyway, but how about you share from because every one of us that I've ever spoken to, we always go back to an early memory in our childhood to where it was like 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, 7 years old, it doesn't matter, where we had an experience or experiences that made us question what we were being taught. And so I would like to ask you to share what made you start questioning the reality you live in.
Good start. I can't really put this back on. You laugh actually, because what you can't see from your perspective is that there's post-it notes everywhere with like bullet point references, just because I get a bit of a mind block. But sorry?
You're going to have to get into your microphone because just everyone tell me, can you hear what he's saying? We can't hear you.
That's strange. I'm really close to it. What about now? Can you hear me?
Go slower and we can hear you.
That'll be the reason, won't it? Or I'll have to be aware of my speed. What I will say to begin with, that this is completely unnatural. This isn't for me, really. Well, I'll say isn't for me. The limelight isn't my thing. I've always been sociable, if you know what I mean, but I mingled okay, but I was never a leader as such, nor a follower. So kind of in that middle range, but always held that strong mind and that stubbornness to always know firsthand. So, the example is, if I see a sign saying wet paint, I'm touching that paint to see myself. You know what I mean? That ultra stubborn kind of, you're not here. You're not hearing me.
Where's your mic at?
Straight in front of me. It's about 2 feet away.
Well, maybe you need to bring it closer and turn your speaker volume down, maybe. Something's completely...
Let me try and turn the TV down. Hold on a second.
I don't want anyone to tune you out because they can't hear you, because I know what you have to share is important, so I don't want anyone to tune you out on that.
Is it any different now? Because I have the TV volume high.
Yeah, turn the TV volume down.
Right, okay, because I can't actually hear you through the TV. I can only hear you through the phone.
Well, now that's interesting. David said he can hear you loud and clear. Who can hear him very clear? Well, what the heck is going on? You can? Okay, let me do something then. I'm going to turn my volume down. Maybe I've got something weird going on. All right, let's try it again. Go.
Where are we starting from?
Well, you were questioning reality. That's where we're going.
Oh, I went back. I went back a few steps before that.
So I
We
got
can
caught up
start from
and
that point if you
I
want
couldn't
to.
understand what you were saying.
Well, where are we starting from? We started from the point of questioning reality, or kind of my.
Question the reality.
Okay. I think the first point was about 1999. This is a normal day, and I was quite into my sport actually, and I had this image, just like a flash still image. Do you remember the old Polaroid cameras? Yeah, so like an instant still in the mind, and it almost told a story of what was coming up, if you know what I mean. So everything was in that still. The information that I could take from it was in that still, which then went on to materialise. It was quite a minor event, so I didn't think much of it. I just thought, oh, it was a bit strange. And then later on in the summer of '99, I had a girlfriend, and upon walking down to meet her, I had another one of these still images, which happened to be about her having an accident on a horse. And then within about 5 minutes, the actual still that I had in my head kind of unfolded, almost mirrored into reality, and just set me head west. It was just mind blowing. Although at the time, of course, it was quite traumatic, so it was two in one really. And then about 10 days later, she was in the hospital, and then had another one, and it was quite strange because it was the image of a funeral, but I've never been to a funeral, and every experience, like watching them on TV and films, from what I'd seen, everyone wore black suits, formal wear. And in this image, it was split in two. So it was very colourful clothes on the one side, and then you had the standard suits, the black suits, ties on the other. And at the time, I had told my mum what I was anticipating, and she did come to the funeral as well, and it actually was identical again to what I had seen, even though in my experience, funerals were suits and ties and and smart wear. So from that, I think that was the point of where I really questioned everything. It was so explosive almost. It wasn't even kind of a gradual question. It was a boom, and that left me puzzled for years and years. And it wasn't until about 10 years after I got into theories by Stephen Hawking, and that got me going. Then that got me really curious, because I think it was a quote that he threw up about people who believe in determinism fail to close their eyes when they cross a road, and that was kind of the starting point. What got me really firing, I suppose.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And it's really interesting because we all go back to a specific time where we question what we've been told. And we hello, George.
Hello, George.
Thank you for being here. So there's always a specific time where we go back to questioning everything about what we've been taught. And there is a little bit of a fear, a little bit of sadness, a little bit of, wow, I've been vulnerable and I was betrayed. And so when we are in those states, we have to become aware of the fact that either we did create these situations from free will, or it was determined. And so what I would like to do before we go into a discussion about this, I would like to just share what the interpretations of these two are. Okay, is that okay with everyone? Okay, so I went and I did a good study on this. So free will is the idea that we are able to have some choice. And hang on, I'm gonna mute you, Gav, just while I'm reading this.
Okay.
Okay. So free will is the idea that we are able to have some choice in how we act and assumes that we are free to choose our behavior. In other words, we are self-determined. For example, people can make a free choice as to whether to commit a crime or not, unless they are a child or they are insane. I find that interesting too. Like they don't have as much credit as we do. But this does not mean that behavior is random, but we are free from the causal influences of past events. According to free will, a person is responsible for their own actions. Determinism, some approaches in psychology see the source of determinism as being outside the individual, a position known as environmental determinism. For example, children with violent parents will in turn become violent parents through observation and imitation. And I can tell you from my own personal experience, that's not a fact. Because I grew up with very violent parents, and that never was projected onto my children from me. So that right there is a contradiction. That's just all I can share from my experience on that. Determinism in philosophy and theory states that all events, including moral choices, are completely determined by previously existing causes. Determinism is usually understood to prevent free will because it entails that humans cannot act otherwise than they do. The theory holds that the universe is utterly rational because complete knowledge of any given situation assures that infallible knowledge of its future is also possible. Is it laws and states of the universe that determines what will be next, or one prime creator, or creators, as in co-creators, that transcends this entire scheme? Is it consciousness generally that has its way within the boundaries of a consistent pattern that was already created or co-created? That consistency is what appears to us as the laws or the lore of nature. So I wanted to start with that because I just thought that was really effective and empowering just to create a discussion. And like I said to you, Gab, this is your venture and I want to support you in this, but this is your show. So with what I just shared, I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to listen and observe.
Absolute determinism. Just so you're clear on that. Am I still muted? Patricia? Oh no.
I'm here.
I'm sorry, I thought you got off again. I thought it'd cut again.
No.
All right, okay. Yeah, I'm leaning towards, well, I'm a bit set on hard determinism, in that every moment is determined, well, not only by the previous moment, but from the very beginning, in terms of it being a complete creation. So I'm looking at these notes here, because I've got all sorts of junk on my TV. Where are we going to begin? Yeah, actually, I've done a lot of, usually I use logic to go so far with my theory. And that's all I call it here. Yes, I was looking at a typical example of how much free will we actually have.
Hey, hey, relax. You're good.
Not really.
Yeah, you're good. Relax. You're good. Share.
Much better with being prompted as opposed to just giving this free reign of focus. You know this.
Okay, let me go another route with you, okay? If free will exists,
Right.
is it self-created?
Yes.
If so, would one not have to be present for the creation all along?
Yes, of course. But then you go back to defining self, don't you? So I imagine there'd be quite a few different versions of the definition. So I'd have self as what you may call a creator or a programmer, or the heart. There's many different versions. So yeah, the self is always present, and it would be also the creator or programmer, if you want to see it as a program or a structure.
What about, so do you ever see, so David wants me to go back and have you explain 1999 because he wanted more information about that. But I want to ask you something also. When every time you're describing something, because I said this, and George, you missed this when I introduced Gav, I'm like, he is a magnificent guy from the UK. And I was like, he's got a big heart, but a busy mind. And I just feel that he is questioning so many things. So he's kind of like in this loop, and I want him to be able to free himself from that. So when you are talking about the creation, do you ever see an organic level to it at all? Or for you, is it all a simulation? Is it all a program? Because for me, it's not.
Yeah. In terms of the reality itself, yeah, I see it as complete 100% program, with every moment being a cause and effect. So a cause would result in an effect, and that following effect would then act as a cause to the next effect, like the domino rally.
Well, that's in disagreement with free will, though.
Yeah, completely.
So you're a determinism person.
Oh yes.
Well, hello, I didn't know that.
What?
How did I miss that?
All the 5 years of discussions that we've had.
No, because I thought you were always in the observer mode. I thought that you always were at that point to where, okay, that explains why you get so passionate about specific causes.
Yeah. Yeah, so see, it's two perspectives. So you're always observing, but then you're also coming into your character or your person perspective to experience in full. So you can flip it between the two. But organically, ultimately you're the self. You're always the observer. Are you with me?
I'm with you, but you confused me based on what you've shared, because I thought from our conversations, I always felt that you were coming from the perspective of free will as an illusion in this arena, at this level, that free will is a possibility.
Yeah, free will from the character perspective. So if you think maybe you can control your person in the now, what I'm saying is that's not the case, in that it's pre-programmed beforehand, so before the reality even. Right?
So for you, who's programming that?
The self, or the heart, or me, or you.
So are me, you, the self, the heart, all one being, or are we multiples?
One.
And nothing exists outside that one?
No.
See, that's the hard part for me, because I have so much memory of co-creation, and this is that's why I said I wanted to be a neutral observer, because for me, I just have so much memory of my co-creation, and that I'm not like, you know how you had this adverse reaction to the love and lighters because you were like, oh my goodness, they're just like all love and light. And I was like, because that's that one, concept of unity and everything is one. That's where that comes from. So
Right.
for you to fall into that belief system would mean that you have accepted that you are a creation of something else outside of yourself, or that you are just this one collective hive mindset that's kind of feeding off of just one another. I feel like that's the false reality versus the true natural organic reality, which is that we're all creators. And so when people hear unity and harmony, and I remember in religion when I was doing this, I was making so many pastors angry, because when they would say unity and harmony, and I would look at the very texts that were written there, I'm like, I don't think you're getting it the way I'm getting it. It was never that one being was all three. It was that they were all three in harmony and unity, that they had one mindset, like they had one heart connection, where they could acknowledge that all creation came from a place of purity and innocence, and just to explore. So I do get lost in the concept of just this one, because it doesn't resonate for me. And so I never want to disrespect what you're sharing, but I just want to let you know I don't know how to relate to that. So I would love for you to share more about how you feel about it, and let other people share their perceptions and their experiences.
Yeah, I mean, I was open to there being a creator for each path or timeline or experience, whatever you want to call it. But it just had so much conflict in it, in the sense that if you've got multi-creators all creating into one reality, it just couldn't be individual, in the sense that, I mean, it's a really good example for you. So would you say, sorry, just to clarify something, so with the multi-creator, would they be creating every detail of their own experience?
I just want to ask George if he would like to share here. I don't know if he does. He might just want to be a silent, observer, and that's okay. But if he would like to share, I'm going to give him a moment to unmute. You don't have to put your camera on, but if you would like to unmute and share something, George, I think that a lot of people could gain some insight from what you want to share. And if not, that's okay also.
Hello?
So I'm just going to slide if I can find him.
He's here.
Hello?
We're here.
I'll see.
Hi.
Not on.
Hey, we hear you, George.
How you doing?
Well, George, we are awesome. I'm going to say something to you. Gavin.
Before you do that, I'd just like to say hello to Cal, if I may. Is that all right?
Sure.
Hi, Cal. Can Cal hear me?
Gav?
Yeah.
Gav?
Yeah, Gav.
Hi, Gav.
Hi, how you doing?
How you doing?
I'm good, thanks.
Awesome. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm sorry if I'm cutting in and out. I'm driving at the moment.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. Sorry, Patricia. What did you want to ask me?
Well,
Oh,
I feel like that, for me, this is like this internal knowing, like it's something that is just in my being, and I don't know how to express it with language. And it really is very conflicting for me, to try to, I never like to try to push my beliefs or my truth on someone else. So I really want to have this conversation with Gavin. I just feel like this is truly, again, this is like one of those predestined conversations, because he's been asking this of me for years, and we've gone back and forth and just lovingly release each other and saying, like, we disagree. So he's so confused how we can be creators that exist outside of this universe and be in unity and harmony without a disaster, is what I feel.
Yeah. I guess we're viewing it from our limited capacity of understanding of the harmonious nature of life, because of the fractal nature of this reality, where you know, this is the reality that is set up, that is the most dense and most compressed and most intense expression of life in the universe. And we're trying to aspects, realities.
You're breaking up now. Maybe you need to wait a couple of minutes. George, you're breaking up.
Chaotic.
I don't even think anyone cares if you break up. I think people are just happy to see you here.
All sorts of ideas and concepts.
Oh no. So I just carry on where I was. I think it's gone. And now you're mute, Patricia.
I thought I had to unmute you. So it was so great that he was able to join in. He's driving for 9 hours and he wanted to come in and participate, but he had a bad connection, obviously. So I don't even know what he shared. Do you?
No, not really. Yeah.
We're just so excited.
We're
like, yeah, he showed up. Yeah. All right, Ron has a lot to share on this. Ron, unmute. Let's talk. David, unmute. I know you two both have a lot to say. I'm not letting y'all off the hook.
One of the things that George was talking about that I was agreeing with in the beginning is that when we look at this stuff, we're seeing it from our own perspective as humans. And it's very hard for us to grasp the idea that we can co-create the extent of the realities that we're in and not have so much conflict. It also goes back to what I've talked about before, is each of us has within our own universe. So when you're looking at the creation process, yes, we have the underlying reality that we are all created together, but at the same time, we each have our own lives we're living. We're not living all of our lives together simultaneously. So it's separate lives. So the amount of co-creation going on is for the basic reality and the concepts, not for each individual's life. We come into each other's life as we need to, and we work from that point as co-creators. That's kind of the point I would add to that.
Yeah, that was great. That was great. Thank you. So I'm gonna ask a couple of questions and see where we go from there. And so let me see. I didn't put a lot together, Gav, because I'm pretty stubborn on this one. But I'm gonna create a little bit of conversation. So, if free will, if it exists, self-created? If so, would one not have to be present for creation all along? So for me, in where we are right now, because I observe us as the actors. I observe this as the past, present, and future all happen at once, and remote viewing even expresses that in the way that it can dial into a specific situation, even like when we have a deja vu moment, for example. So if free will existed, who created free will? How would that even be possible? Or even if you go with determinism, who is creating this?
Who's that question for?
You're the one with the star shining over your head.
This is open chat, remember? I'd say, yeah, free will would exist at the creator level. So it'd be complete free will from one sole creator, right? And then once the creation begun, it'd be perceived through multi-perspectives. So like a character would have a path, and that would be observed from almost all angles, if you know what I mean. But in terms of the characters themselves, like you're saying, as being actors, they would have zero control or free will, just living out that reality as it was meant to be at creation level.
Well, okay, so you're saying that the actor doesn't have a role to play other than being the actor. And it's one being.
Yeah.
So can I ask you
Sorry?
a question? What happens to the one if there's one being, at what point does that one being cease to exist within its creation of all experiences it wanted to have, and what happens to that being?
Can you reform that question? What happens to the one being after what? Sorry.
So if it's your truth that there's no free will, it's determinism, and also that there's one creator and all aspects of everything that we are of this one creator, then what happens? Does that creator just fold up sometime and go home? I mean, where does it go? What happens when it's experienced all that it could have possibly created in this one universe? Is the creator or the actor, and like right now, are you the creator or are you the actor?
Ultimately, I'd be the self in the same way that you are. I'm trying to give you an example. If I can paint a picture for you to kind of envisage. So, remember the old, what are they called? The viewfinders.
Oh yeah.
Remember them?
Yeah.
So the actual discs would contain moments, right? And called the time frames. So that would be created at a free will level by the self, and then lived through the multi-perspective. So obviously you've only got two perspectives on the actual unit. But from the moment the reality would trigger, determinism is with the characters. So there's no free will for the characters themselves. But the perspective of the self is via the characters. You with me?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, you're going to become to realize that you are a creator that has co-created, because I think that you're creating that yourself right now in this conversation. I think you're going to realize that we are multiple creators co-creating this experience that's limited, and that limitation, for me alone, just if you just ask me, gravity itself tells me I have no free will, because who would not just skyrocket up into space if we had free will? We'd all do it, because we'd want to go explore everything possible. But we have chosen to limit ourselves for this experience. And so Ronald, Tracy, Natalie, Jane, Magda, Paul, Cheryl, David, any of you guys, come on and share something. Come on. Don't be so shy. You all have an opinion. Express it.
You've muted them all.
No, I haven't.
Have you not? Oh, okay.
I think we are all these things, you know. I think we are free will and we are determinism. During the university days, I really struggled with that question. I really struggled. I was really going against what I was being taught within psychology. I remember actually writing an essay about a frog who was spawned out of the pond and eventually climbed a tree. But it was, for me, this seems so limiting, and to apply them to everyday life, for me, is a really big struggle, both free will and determinism. It's like kind of living through duality itself, you know. living through all these limitations, and it's either free will or determinism. I think I created everything before I came, and I'm kind of proving that to myself more and more, actually, that I am the co-creator, you know, and I'm the creator being. And there are many creator beings just come here and experiencing this. So personally, I do struggle with both. Free will and determinism, I do struggle with both concepts, really. And that's it, really.
Patricia, if I can maybe add something that might, at least for me, kind of cleared it up when I came up with the idea of it, is that if you see yourself as the creator, see yourself in a movie, and as the creator, you wrote the movie. You wrote all the scenes, you wrote all the players, you knew what the roles were going to be, you wrote everything about that movie, and not only one movie, but you wrote multiple versions of it. And then see yourself also as the director of the movie, which would be kind of your higher self, your spirit guides, that type of an aspect of you that is looking at the movie that you're in as the observer. You're standing back. You're not in the emotional role of the actors. And at the same time, you are also the actors, but the actors have an emotional attachment to the role that they're playing, so they become more involved with what's going on in order to make it more real. Whereas the director, which is the observer use, is able to stand back and look at it and kind of see what's going on more from a different point of view. But you're the writer, you're the director, and you're the actor all simultaneously.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. So I agree. Like when I am in the observer mode, I'm the audience. So as the audience, well, even as the audience, I'm having a reaction. As the actor, I'm trying to just make sure that I can just envelop that whole character. So I've got to just dive in and embrace every aspect of that being, right? Because I've got to feel them. I've got to be aware of their perspective, of how they feel, how they act. And then if I'm the director, I'm like, wait a minute, I don't want you to. They're trying to put you in a certain light for people to observe you. So the director is actually one of your best friends because they're trying to help you project that role that you're trying to create. So really your audience is your greatest observer and maybe even your greatest critic. But at the same time, it was all necessary. So I see us as creators, co-creators, actors, directors, and observers. And it's not something like I will say, like, I can't get so scientific or academic with it because it just comes from my personal experiences and awarenesses. And that's how I embrace it. And so when I think we're so much in our head, it's because of the education. It's because of all of the programming that we've all experienced that we have to release ourselves from and allow us to feel into our heart, our gut, our intuition to know, whoa, wait a minute. I did co-create. And Gav, I think you do that really brilliantly. I think your only dilemma for yourself personally is it one creator or multiple creators? That's the only thing I feel like you're in a question of not necessarily being comfortable with where you are in that. That's just my impression. I think you think you're one, but I feel like you still question it.
I'll always remain open because I think it's probably detrimental to be set in a way. Like, let's say your truth 5 years ago is not necessarily what you're going to be in the present moment. So you have to remain open-minded about it. But I was open to multi-creator. It's just a conflict again. It's, typical examples of if multiple creators were responsible for their own creation and every bit of their creation, then they're interacting with other creators. So it's kind of like, if it comes to a point where one situation where, say, I'll give you an example now. All right, take two sportsmen who are competing against each other. So what if both want to be victorious in that situation? And if one has to agree with the other's version, then that doesn't leave them as an individual creator, does it? You see where I'm coming from? Oh, sorry, I think you're muted again.
I do see where you're coming from. No, David, I'm not cutting you slack. If you want to have something to say, unmute and come on yourself. I'm done. Unmute yourself and come on. I do see what you're saying, but why do you have to be victorious only in the victory instead of in the loss? David, unmute. You can come on and speak. Seriously.
No, there's nothing wrong with the victory or the loss. I'm saying in the sense of the concept, only if they both agree. But if they both agree, then surely they can't be individual. All the chances of every multi-god or multi-creature agreeing is just, that seems a bit far-fetched to me.
So what if every creator and co-creator agreed, they would experience the win and the loss and the effects in the films?
Well, if they're agreeing, whose idea is it? Is there one ultimate creator amongst all the multi-creators that the rest kind of flock to and will agree with? Who agrees? Who takes the final kind of say?
I don't know that we have to flock to. I think this is a great discussion we're having where we can keep questioning to the point to where we actually recognize and remember our sovereign beings. David, what do you have to say?
I'd like to hear more about the 1999 and what his thought process was before that happened.
I would say I was a stubborn-ass atheist. Like I said before, I was always strong-minded, always been strong-minded, never been led, never wanting to follow. It's kind of in that middle ground of I want to see it for myself. Believing isn't seeing for me, seeing's believing. So my experience was always going to be what kind of what forms my truth, if you know what I mean. So that was it for me. That seeing moments of the future that were identical, it didn't make any sense in a reality that was undecided. Tomorrow's undecided. It was just almost impossible for me to have moments of the future that were identical, mirrored, and then unfolded as time unfolded itself.
George, are you able to hear what he's saying? I'm not sure because I know you're traveling, and I just feel like you're the best person that could help him in his expression right now. And I feel like you're supposed to be here because this is so rare.
Patricia, if I can throw out something that might help a little bit with that is, excuse me, I got a bit of a cold. One of the assumptions that everyone is making when you're looking at this from the creator, co-creator, one winning, one losing, and so on, is that you're assuming one reality. And you have to remember that within this timeline that we're in, there are multiple realities, and that every possibility is playing out in a separate reality. So in the one reality where that individual is helping you within your universe, letting you achieve what you need to, within another reality, you're helping them achieve what they need to on their end of it. It's all simultaneous. It doesn't have to be one way or the other. It's just the concept of multiple realities may make that a little bit easier to grasp that concept.
Whose reality is this then?
Each of us is running within our own universe. We are the creators within our own universe, and we are simply co-creating as they talk about with the basic underlying theme of the reality, and we're helping each other within the roles that we are playing within that reality we're playing. But the you that you're being now, the I that I am being here, is not the only role we're playing as us. we're playing out all the possibilities within this reality at the same time. So it's simply a matter of where we're shifting our awareness to. So we're helping each other out in different realities, and it's being played out in multiple ways at multiple times. We just simply have our awareness here in only one point in time that we're able to grasp. But the reality is we have our awareness in multiple places. We just aren't aware of it because of the limitations that we've accepted when we came here.
Awesome points. And at the same time, some of us start to have memories. Like we start to have these memories of the fact that we are not a created being and that we co-created the experiences, and we can remember these things. And so there again, it's not about hierarchy as far as like, are you better than or lesser than someone else? It's just about when you chose to come into this universe and experience it. So like I might be on my last ride out of the roller coaster and I'm like, I'm done. But maybe I'll come back and explore and I'll do some other things, but really I'm done. Like I've done everything I need to do. And some people are like, no, I need to go ride that roller coaster another 10 times because I'm not ready to go yet. And so that's what I want to get people to appreciate, is that we don't have to feel like if we choose a different path that we're lesser than someone else. It's just that that's the path that we've chosen. And free will for me does not exist in the now. It exists when I created coming in, but then again, past, present, and future will always happen. And so that can be where it can be so conflicting when you're in this arena with the actor role. Come on, George, you agreed to come in. You got to come in and say something. Help me. Help me.
Hi, are you there?
We're here. Yeah.
Okay, I'll be back in just 1 minute, please. Okay, just hang on a sec.
Jane, is there anything you'd like to share? I would love to hear it.
I kind of have some train of thought and thinking in relation to times when I know me and yourself have kind of met out of this time. My problem is when we're talking about these things, we start talking about time, and my head just goes when we start talking about time, so I find it quite difficult. But in relation to what we were saying, I know, well, personally, I know times when we have created things together out of this time. For me, it happened during sleep time, and even with George himself, who's coming on, I do remember meeting him out of in dream time as well, and creating things, all of us together. So it makes talking about time very difficult when you're thinking in terms of that. But in terms of free will and determinism, again, I agree with the lady that was talking about in university. I remember having to do a paper on it, and again, same as discussing time, it fried my brain, and I literally can't think of when I get into that state of mind where things are frying my brain. I can't go there. I have to kind of follow my own thinking, and that's usually a bit of a sign for me that I have to kind of leave it alone. And I think that's really all I have to say in that. I'm very interested in everything everybody else has to say, but I don't have much else to add to it myself.
That's okay. I just wanted you to be able to express yourself. All I want from this is for you to be able to express yourself, and that's it.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate the chance to speak, because it isn't something I'd be very comfortable with, as you know. So, baby steps.
Yeah, baby steps, and it's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else other than Gav, Ronald, George, or myself right this second?
Yeah, I'd like to hear Gab talk a little more.
No, I said other than Gav right now.
Okay.
It's got to be Natalie, Paul, or Magda, and then it can be or Cheryl, and then George or David, because George and David are comfortable talking because they know me so well, and Gav does, and Ronald does now. Paul, of course, yeah.
Yeah, I can try to say a little. It's always a challenge to speak for me like this, but and with these subjects, my mind tend to short circuit. I kind of get blank with these things because what happens with me is I have this inner knowing, so I resonate with truth. Sometimes I wonder if it is because other people say that something that I like to accept, and so others' views become my own, or it is just because I have this inner knowing. So I have an ability to, kind of deeper ability to, at least sometimes, to recognize what is true for me and what is not. And maybe it's more, it's also more towards my greater self, that I have this ability, at least sometimes, to recognize what is true.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. George, while we have you, let's get what you have to share, please. George Kavassilas, while we have you here to share with us, can we please have...
Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry about the confusion here. I'm on a road trip. I'm on a 10-hour drive. Just been visiting my mum for 86, and that brings into question a lot. Also of when you're sitting next to someone and they're on the last legs of life, and you kind of think, well, who determines when they're going to go and when they're not going to go? And my understanding of this whole situation is everything that we experience, we are the creators of, meaning we are the orchestrators, the composers, the conductors of the lives that we're having. And there's different levels of reality that have different experiences in that overall theme. And when you enter into just different paradigms of realities within this universe, they have different modus operandi, they have different parameters of functionality. So we're kind of looking for one rule fits all. But the basic premise that I've discovered in my journey is that we're all infinite. And once we really start to grasp what that truly means, in the true essence of it, the true essence of the meaning of what it means to be infinite, then the cohesion that exists in life, even beyond this universe, let alone just beyond this reality, and most realities in this universe. Like even within this universe, there are massive dimensional paradigms which are full of cohesion. And I've even experienced one, the planet itself being a multidimensional being. There's realms on this planet that are pure cohesion, pure love, no consumerism, and everything existing in pure harmony with everything else. So those sorts of realities I've experienced and have given me this beautiful insight into what is possible and our natural state before we actually blend into, you know, all the choices that we make from a greater aspect of our beingness to actually enter into realities with distortion fields in them. And those distortion fields create opportunities of alchemy to have challenges before us where we can have really challenging experiences and cultivate so much wisdom out of those experiences and learn so much and grow. So there are opportunities of growth. And what I used to do was to try and work out just from my ego construct of George and what society told me about life and what my belief systems were telling me about life. And I struggled. I found myself in so much inner conflict, trying to reconcile the experiences I was having and trying to get them to fit inside all those belief systems and all those constructs, those mental frameworks, those ideologies that I'd been programmed with throughout my life. So what I decided to do was just to let go of everything I've ever known and just allow my experiences to show me. And when I had that really big one in 2003, which blew everything else out of the water totally, like everything just dwarfs that one. Yeah, like it gets dwarfed by that one, sorry. When I reintegrated with what I call the labeling system I'll use is my soul, and that is the aspect of me that is beyond consciousness and beyond spirit, where I'm in total unity with this universal creator. And then realizing that that is my portal out of this universe as well into my infinite nature and experiencing the infinite nature of life, where there's no beginning or end to it. There is no one anything out there. There is a cohesive harmony, but there's no one anything because there's no totality. So there is no oneness. There is no one law of one, or the raw material falls short. It's where it gets exposed. It's kind of like the creator, the entity that is claiming to be the creator of all that is and all that exists, which is the one we know as God or Allah or Yahweh or whatever you want to call it, and every culture has its own version of it, which is also the entity behind the law of one material. In its more sophisticated expressions of its claims to the most extravagant fame in existence, is still inside this concept of there is a one something, and it is the creator. Like there is a one energy, therefore a one intelligence, therefore a one beingness behind the creation of all that is and all that exists. So you need to understand you're dealing with the most extreme form of egoic insanity that life has ever experienced, that one intelligence, one being could claim that, one beingness. Now, the cohesive harmony of the infinite nature of life creates this beautiful energy of, it's not even an energy, it's an isness. I mean, we can't find a languaging to do it any justice of this if we call it a unity, if we call it a harmony, if we call it a cohesion, and if we call it intelligence, there is no, even all of those are falling short. There is no languaging we could find, excuse me, that will do it any justice whatsoever. What has helped me is to let go of this program of finite construct that there is, because this whole idea of oneness that's been propagated in our reality is all about trying to bring people into a harmony and a unity, but it's encapsulating them into an individual unity. It's like a collective hive mind type of construct. And that is the trap. That is the God matrix at its most sophisticated, high-end, mind-bending philosophical expression. So I feel
So George, I would like to interrupt you. I apologize, but I need to interrupt you there because it's so important for Gav, because the whole reason that this event is occurring is because of his questioning of that. So I really want you and him to have a one-on-one. And for him, it's so interesting because he was so opposed to the love and light concept, but he doesn't get the glitch that brings him into the same paradigm.
Yeah, same paradigm, different. It's a same ideology with a different dress on or a different suit on. It is being that ideology of the, excuse me, of that oneness ideology is being marketed in every way possible to keep people entrained inside of it. Once you truly understand the infinite nature of life, you will also understand that we are all individual creator beings of our own existence, living in their cohesion. And well, people will still try to pin, well, that cohesion is the unity, is the oneness. And I understand that they still want to do that, but it's not how it truly is. Once you re-experience the infinite nature of life, you will understand. And as long as you try to grasp the concept of its nature through your mind, you'll never get it. It can only be re-experienced. You need to relax into what is. So rather than thinking you must achieve something that isn't already, you are infinite. So you need to relax into your infinite nature. And once you begin to grasp this concept of what it truly means to be infinite, then you will begin to realize that whether you call it free will, whether you call it no free will, you realize that both exist simultaneously at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And both are valid. It's either free will or it's no free will. It's both simultaneously at the same time, and they're both valid, and they exist at different levels of expression.
Well, thank you so much, George, because that's my truth, because of just my experiences and my memory is that I don't have free will on this level, but my greater being.
But you do have free will on this level. This is what I'm trying to explain. I, as George, have free will. I'm making decisions. I just made a decision to have a stop and a rest and a pee while I'm on this really long drive. But I also am happy living with the fact that that was a decision I was always going to make.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It was like it was already predetermined.
Yeah, but I'm also experiencing the process of making the decision.
Of course, yes. Okay, we agree.
Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to explain. Both are valid at the same time. And it's the same when you enter into any reality in this universe. The oversoul, which is the aspect of unity with the universal creator, and the if you want to call it the grandest, if I'm going to get hierarchical about it, the grandest expression of self in this universe, and total unity with the universal creator. That is the real orchestrator of every single experience that you have in this universal paradigm. And then when you get out into the omniverse and you go and start getting into the infinite nature of life, out there, there's an incredible level of free will. And we're all creating universes, and we're all jumping in and out of each other's universe going, wow, man, this is really cool. Can I have some of that? You know? So on all these different levels of existence, there's free will and there's no free will, and then there's free will and there's no free will. And if you were to pin me down and say, you've got to say exactly whether it is or it isn't, because of the dualistic nature of the way our minds are working inside this universe, I want to know, ultimately, give me one answer. And I'm going to say, ultimately, you have free will in the infinite nature of life.
Yeah.
If I was forced to give one answer over another.
Okay. Me too. Yeah, me too. And exactly. Because for me, this is an expression of my free will.
Yes. But also in the infinite nature of life, we are behaving in a manner in which is in complete knowledge of our entire ecosystem, you know, and knowing how to go about doing things without the incursion or the destruction of another. It doesn't, we keep trying to grasp these vast, magnitude of life from what we're experiencing in here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going to work, because even the concept of what we think love is in this reality is completely different even just in other realities in this universe, let alone the entire universe, let alone the infinite nature of life. It's completely different.
Yeah. So can I ask you a question, George? When it comes to I think this is something that everyone wants to hear, and I was going to save this for our interview we're going to do in a couple of days, but I'll just do it here right now, and maybe I'll do it again in the interview. But for people that are struggling with free will on a creator being level, and then dealing with suffering in this reality, how do they reconcile that?
Yeah.
How do they reconcile that?
So before I go there, just want people to understand I've had an incredible amount of suffering in my life. Incredible. So, and Patricia knows, and I know Patricia has too. So most people have. Now, to reconcile that level of suffering and that degree of suffering that I've experienced took me a long time. But then I came to realize that every experience I'm having, I've created it. And whoever the perpetrator, whoever the other party is, if I'm going to be the victim in that experience, I contracted them from another level of my being to role play. It's like, you've heard the saying, the world's a stage. There is a very real truth to that. I'm sorry, are you there?
I'm here, but you're breaking up a little bit.
Sorry, I'm back now. Okay. So, you've heard the saying that the world's a stage, and you have and everybody's just role playing. We're all actors on the world stage. And it's easy to get drawn into just the drama of it, of the perpetrator victim role, all these drama triangles. That is on different levels, like, you've got the victim as well, and so the savior in there as well. So you've got all these different drama triangles constructs that are going on, and we just getting sucked in one after the other until you actually get to the realization that, hang on, I created this. I contracted the other person on a grander level to actually come and role play for me here in this world stage, so I could have this experience and I can learn from it. Because one thing I do know for a fact, that the moment you acknowledge that and you bring closure to that agreement, that soul level agreement, then the experience goes away, dissolves, and so does the pain. But what you're left with is really rich cultivation of wisdom. And that is something that no one can take away from you. It's proven over and over and over again that this is the case.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, so I would ask Gav and Ron specifically if there's anything you would like to express to George after he shared that, to express it.
first?
Go ahead, Gav.
Me?
Yeah.
I would agree that there is free will and determinism, like you said, with free will being outside and determinism being inside. So I'm not saying free will doesn't exist at all. I'm saying it exists for the self, whereas determinism plays a part for the characters or the persons that are role-playing the actual reality. What else was I going to say? There's another point.
Yeah,
George
I totally agree with Gav's take on that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think the only point that we differ on is the multi-creator part of it all.
I think that's the only place you guys differ, George, is that he believes that there's one creator, and we, and our perspective is there is co-creation.
Yeah. That's okay.
It's like simple things. I have these questions like
one is a subservient. There may be a delay. I apologise for that.
No, go ahead. You're good.
Okay, so just breaking it down. One is coming from a place of empowerment, and the other one is coming from a subservient model. That was it. That's all I wanted to say to that.
Well, I don't. Do you get what he's trying to say, Gav? He's saying, so if you go with the one creator model, then you are a slave to that system. If you go with the idea that you are a co-creator, then you are now a sovereign being.
How would I be a slave to the system if it's mine? With me, as in I, not my character name, that being the one, if it's my creation, who am I a slave to?
To the collective, that collective energy, that one creator being, you will no longer have any free will whatsoever. It will always be in the determination of that entity.
Yeah, my own, myself. So if it's my free will from the off, then the determinism would be within the characters that I'm observing via viewpoints.
So the way the gods operate is they operate with authoritarianism and control. And when you enter into one of their realities, you are subservient to their will and command. In the natural order, the creators and creator beings in the natural order, like the creator of this entire universe, not the smaller universes within it, but the main universe, is on the level with you. You're equal with that being, and it's a complete knowing that your entire existence in this universe is a co-creative process, and that you both exist together beyond this universe in the infinite nature of life.
Gav, it's one of the reasons that you and I and George can have this conversation without an emotional response, because we're not controlled by this false deity being that wants to claim you and claim your soul and your spirit. And so the reason you and I have connected on such a deep level was because you're like, wow, Mama, you're different. You don't try to fight, or we don't have this argumentative kind of nature. And the reason that hasn't happened is because I was so confident in the fact that it's a co-creation, and that even if we disagree, it's irrelevant, because just because you're not at this point yet of acknowledging you're a creator in a co-creation, it doesn't take away from myself. So I don't feel inferior, or that you're superior, or that I have to feel any kind of way that would make me want to challenge you and create a disharmony between us. So to me, when someone says, what is unconditional love? What I've become aware of in my own personal experiences is not a feeling or emotion. It's a state of being to where you acknowledge that life is what it is. Everything and everyone is experiencing exactly what they're supposed to be in, and we have discernment without judgment. But that's what unconditional love is. It's just like you're aware that everything is expressing itself the way it's supposed to.
The way it's supposed to. That's one of my lines. No, to be fair, like I said, our discussions have always been healthy. Like I said before, I think before most people joined that there's never any bad feeling between us, even though we disagree on probably one thing. What was I going to say? So I'm losing.
Well, that's the spice of life too, isn't it? That's the beautiful variety. To be in a reality where it's a fractal of the universe, and you've got every expression of the universe in a fractalized, compressed form expressing itself here. Of course, there's going to be divergence, and it's. I love it. I just absolutely love the different kinds of expressions and realities. Everywhere I go, it's a different reality. The vibrational field of a space changes everywhere I go. It's fantastic. And I love how people have, all these different ways of looking at things. So I embrace the differences because it brings about more exploration and more vibrance and vitality in our communications. I think it's a beautiful thing. And, that unconditional love that Patricia spoke of is, I used to be kind of like that preacher kind. I'll stand strong in my inner standing of things now, but no one has to go where I'm going, and everybody's, you just let go of everyone and everything. It's just lovely. It's a beautiful place to be, and it's nice to be able to share what we've experienced. The one thing I'm still slightly passionate about, and I don't know when that fire is going to go out, is exposing the God matrix. I'm just still passionate about it. And once you can experience that infinite nature of life and bring that into your incarnational construct here, it just smashes every single belief system out there in the most sophisticated of forms. It's unbelievable what it does. And you get to really see how all these most intricate, most sophisticated, mind-bending philosophies can ensnare someone, can entrap someone into thinking they're free, but they're not. They're still enslaved in that model of servitude in the God matrix.
So you're what you just shared was so spot on for me, because you know what? I remember when I had my first session with you, you were like, you're going to expose you're here for the dichotomy and the dialectic, and you're going to expose the God matrix. You kind of shared that with me, and I was like, what? Because I didn't even know what you were talking about. And it's so funny because every dialogue I get engaged in seems to take me back to the fact that I have to keep going back to we are not created beings. We're not created beings. And that was not my intention, because when I left religion, I thought I was just like done. But I realized that my experience with religion was about exposing that this whole indoctrination is to convince everyone that we have been created beings from this one God entity. And it's like I'm stuck in it until I just acknowledge that I've got to keep exposing it. And that really was not my intention in my mind, but I know that's what I'm supposed to do.
Well, a lot of beings that have come into this reality onto the earth at this time, feel quite passionate about that.
Yeah.
That's, we're just here to expose it all.
Yeah. Yeah. And
in the process of being empowered and to be able to do that, we need to understand that we are creator beings and we have access to knowledge and wisdom that is just beyond reckoning, really, with our ego constructs. And because our egos haven't the capacity to deal with that much energy, that much power, that much creative ability. It has to come from the much inner being, the greater aspect of self, the orchestrator self.
Yeah.
That is actually running the show here. So I call it Little George and Big George, Gav.
Yeah.
So Little George has surrendered control of life to Big George, who's really running the show, because Little George, me, in the ego construct, I didn't make the decision to incarnate because I am the incarnation. So I am the character in the play. So I can't possibly know the script. So I can get a bit of an idea on it, a feel for it, and I can really try and work it out, which is what I did for many years. But all that did was just had me running, chasing my tail at one stage. So by releasing control of the life that I'm having to that part of me that did make the decision to incarnate and is the orchestrator of all the experiences that aspect of me wanted to have. Ever since then, all of a sudden I'm in this flow, and my life is just unfolding like a fountain, and it feels fantastic, totally freeing and liberating.
Well, see, so I feel the same way. So I want to ask you to explain one thing, if you feel comfortable with it. So when someone feels that there is one ultimate creator, what is different in this love and light concept?
No difference.
So what's the basis of this love and light? What's the common ground then between the soul creator, or one creator, and the love and light then?
I'm sorry, Gav, can you ask that question again?
Just saying, what's the common ground between the one creator and the love and light? What ground do they share? Is it the whole, like you say, the slave or the servant's mindset? Is that where you were going with that?
It's still part of that subservient model where there is one entity who is the creator of all that is and all that exists. They're still it's still that ideological concept and construct.
Right. So I see that in two parts, in that with myself being the one creator, so there's no servitude against myself, and also the one God entity in the sense of religion. I see that as trying to keep the self in the perspective of the character, in terms of, if you're looking up to a God, then you're in the character perspective, if you know where I'm coming from. So it keeps you down in that character mold.
Yes.
So I don't feel like the servant or the slave.
Yeah. So when you say that you are the creator of your experiences, that I totally agree with. That is my experience. That I'm the creator of all of my experiences. You're the creator of all of your experiences. And I don't exist beyond you. And at the same time, you don't exist beyond me. And I don't exist beyond anything. And there is nothing that exists beyond me.
So
that's what it means. That's what it means to be infinite. So, sorry, Gav, there's a delay. But what I was trying to explain was that is grasping what it means to be infinite.
In that you don't exist beyond what, sorry?
I don't exist beyond you, but neither do you exist beyond me.
Because you both exist beyond one another.
No, there is nothing that exists beyond anything.
Well,
so there is nothing above and beyond, is what I'm trying to explain. And that's what smashes the God program or the one creator ideology.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is that George is not above you and you're not above George.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're trying to say the same thing.
No, I'm reading that completely different, because when you say you to me, I'm thinking you're referring to myself. When you say George, I see you as referring to him as a character. So I'm getting mixed kind of signals here.
Okay, I understand where you're coming from. So your beingness does not exist beyond my beingness, and my beingness does not exist beyond your beingness.
Is that what you're saying, or is that what you're interpreting me as saying?
So that's what I'm saying now to make an adjustment to the confusion of the way I said it earlier for you.
See, I'm quite simple. I've always been a simpleton. So I'm saying that you are self and that I am self.
Uh-huh.
Although I'm expressing that through character to character, but you get where I'm coming from.
Yeah, so your self is expressing through Gavin and myself is expressing through George.
Yeah, but I'm saying they're the same self. I think that's the only difference we have, pretty much.
That's the whole purpose of this conversation, is that he's been exploring this with me for years, and I wanted to give him a platform to share. And it's just so interesting that you decided to show up at this conversation, George, where I love Gav like a son, and he's never disrespectful or controversial. He just wants to share his perspectives, and I feel the same way. And it's so hard for him to comprehend how we could be multiple creators without a complete chaotic confusion of life. He looks at what we see in the arena, and he tries to understand that on the infinite arena, I guess, is the best way to explain it.
Yeah, and that is where I used to go wrong, trying to view it from looking around this world, even looking around in our galaxy, and trying to reconcile the experience of these realities with the infinite nature of life. You can't do it because these realities constructed in a particular way and facilitate particular experiences. Mm-hmm. And they are about getting disharmony back into unity. That's what the whole concept of these realities are about. It's this pathway to compression is about an integrative process of fragmented aspects of selves coming together, and in that pathway of integration, there is experiences of what we could call conflict, but it's conflict and resolution. It's our chemical process. So you can't just look at this reality and think that the rest of the universe is constructed the same way, because it's not. This is very unique. This is a very unique construct and set of experiences in this universe, and in fact, even in the infinite nature of life. So you've got to reintegrate with the aspect of your beingness or self that resides beyond into the much greater or say more inner sanctums of this universe. If I'm going to use a concentric model, which I like to use these days. So the more inner sanctums and inner realms of this universe, and then via that, you then connect or reintegrate, shall I say, with your infinite nature. And that is the inner standing that you will get, is through reintegrating with your own aspects of self that already are in these realities. And therefore the knowledge and the wisdom of the infinite nature of life, the universe, resides in the unity and the love and the experience that you have with these realities, with your relationship that your being has by existing in these places of life or realities. I don't know if that helps.
Every little helps.
Well, like I said, you weren't here, George. I said Gav is a feisty Brit with a big heart and a busy mind.
Yep.
And I love him to pieces. He has so much passion and compassion, and he is a right fighter. Okay, I'll just let you know that
Yeah.
about him, because I don't think you know him on that level, but he is a right fighter. And so this is a big struggle for him because he has such good intentions and he's really trying to sort it out. And so this is why when I do things on a more intimate level than just bringing a public figure on, I really enjoy doing this because it gives someone a platform to express themselves. And I so appreciate you being here tonight to do this with us.
Look, I love being questioned. I absolutely love it because people have, especially someone like Gav, because he's been on this personal journey of inquiry, which is, remember I put up that slide in the course, and it was, 'tis a noble quest, because the word question is quest I on.
Mm.
And and Gavin is on a noble quest because he's questioning everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I, just for the record, I still question everything. When I came back from the US, I went deep 1 week into a very deep internal process of reevaluating everything, all my belief systems, all my, I do it regularly. I'm always in flux, and I'm saying these things to you today, and maybe they will change down the track. They haven't changed since my experience in 2003, from first-hand direct experience. So it's going to take something pretty major to change the way I'm seeing life, the way I experience life. But I'm still open that I may be wrong about everything. Okay, just want to say that I'm not. This isn't dogma, and I'm not a religious fanatic.
No, we know that.
And like Gav, we have passion, which is what I like to see. So understanding the infinite nature of life is the key, because it's the big one. It's the biggest one, because once you crack the glass ceiling of the God matrix, that's it. You've nailed it. And it just smashes everything that tries to see itself as though it is above and beyond you, because there is nothing that exists beyond you. There is nothing above, there is nothing beyond. And when we realize that we're all in this cohesive harmony and in the infinite nature of life together, and I'm just calling it a cohesive harmony because I've got no other languaging. Or maybe I could use the word love, right? And that, to me, once I reintegrated with my infinite nature, that's it. I was home, and it just exposed every little bit of deception that is going on with me and also the world at large.
I have a question for you, Gav.
Okay.
If I'm understanding this correctly, you're the sole creator and we're all characters based on you. Is that what you believe?
That works both ways, though. So when I say I, who am I talking to? Sorry, because it's a bit rude not bringing
This
on
is
the
David.
screen.
David?
Are you on the screen?
Yeah, I'm holding a sword, Excalibur sword.
Oh, okay. You're not actually visual. Yes, it works both ways. So I'm saying that I would be equal to you, as in the same one entity. It's not a case of me being more superior or anything like that.
Yeah, I didn't think you were saying more superior. You're saying we're all actually characters based on your creation in the reality, or not?
Yes, and I could actually mirror them same words back to you, and it would be equally accurate.
Okay, I was just trying to understand what you were saying.
Yeah. Okay. Come on, let's have some more questions. Fire away, folks.
May I interject there?
Sure. Yeah. What you do though is you do create. If you create one, if you were going to mirror back that one creator, it may be that you're still creating that, mirroring back that same image. But I'm gonna be quiet and let George go.
So I think where David was coming from is he asked a very good question, because he created an opening there, and it's like on one level Gav, you and I are saying exactly the same thing. That we are individual creators. But the last little piece of the puzzle for you is, in this universe, we are all part of a unity, which is the creator of this universe. That I completely agree with. However, beyond this universal creation, this is the infinite nature of life. So what Gavin is actually expressing, I personally experience in my relationship with this universe and the creator of this universe. I just want to clarify that. And that I'm even saying these days to people to try and get over their prejudice is even artificial intelligence and us, we're all made of the same stuff together in this universe. There is no disconnect between us. If it exists in this universe, we are in total unity because we're all made of exactly the same stuff on the baseline level of existence in this universe. So does that make sense to you? And then beyond this universe is the infinite nature of life, where there's no one anything.
Yeah, I might interpret it slightly different from what you're meaning to say, I think.
Uh-huh.
So when you say that the we are all, was it equal, sorry? When you said the we are all something, it was something along the lines of equal or the same. What were you saying, sorry?
Yeah, so in this universe, we're all made of exactly the same stuff. What doesn't matter, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's AI, whether it's the most evil of evil that can possibly exist in this universe, or whether it's the most beautiful, or whether it's a rock, or whether it's a tree, or a piece of iron, or a concrete block. It doesn't matter what it is. We all are made of the same stuff that this universe is made out of.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So that is where we as individual cells go back to the one. However, beyond this universe, where we also exist, is the infinite nature of life. And so what I'm trying to get you to understand is there's the finite model, and then there's the infinite model, the infinite. And in the infinite nature of life, there's no one anything, there's no totality. It's open-ended. It always has been and always will be. It's never been created by anything. There is no creator of it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Maybe you've interpreted my one as a limited entity.
Are you telling me
Yeah.
we made progress?
I'm not sure. when I say one, I'm not sure if that's being interpreted as a limited value. If you know what I mean. In terms of numbers, if you look at numbers, one is a limited value, isn't it? A limited amount.
No, because one can mean unity. One can mean just unity. One can, for me, like, because I feel like what you're sharing comes from religion, because I can remember when I was falling off my religious practices, it was that we were all one, we're all one, we're all one, we're all one being. And then I started to question that. That's why I got in so much trouble when I was going to church, because I was like, I don't get it. We're not just one being. And I was creating so much chaos. So the idea of oneness is so simple. It's been made so complicated, but it really is just so simple, is that we're in a harmonized agreement of how we create and co-create together. It's not like oneness, like everything has to like evolve into me and I just suck your whole life, your whole soul expression into myself. It's not that. For me, not what I've experienced outside of programming.
Okay. Maybe best if I rephrase and say that the we, as in characters, and everything else in the universe is a creation of a single creator, or not maybe one is taken as a value. Then maybe that's where the what I'm saying has been taken the wrong way. Maybe I am saying that the creator is infinite. It's not a case of saying that it's limited or finite.
Well, okay, so it's your reference to a single living intelligence, and the infinite nature of life is not that.
I missed half that sentence. It broke up a
Does
little
that-
bit.
He said
Okay.
your reference is
So
to one. Oh, all right, go ahead, George. You broke up, so he couldn't hear you, so I was going to explain it.
Yeah. So this is where the lines are getting blurred. The languaging that we're using is the mistake that we're making.
Right.
Because we're still using languaging from the finite concepts and still trying to adapt that languaging to the infinite, and it's not going to work. And that's the mistake I used to make. So there's in the infinite nature of life, there's no one anything. So the moment you stop using the word one and try to apply that to the infinite nature of life, that's when you're going to start really getting it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to open things up. It's the languaging. It's like I say to people, if you want to transcend the God matrix, then stop saying, oh my God. But it's the intention that counts. And I say to them, no, it's not. The letters G-O-D used in that sequence were given to you by the priestly caste, who are a bunch of dark sorcerers who get people to perform flesh and blood rituals in order to integrate with their deific figures. They are the ones in that sequence which creates a vibrational field pattern when you speak the word, which then creates an opening of a portal in the reality, and then the energetic intention goes through that portal and goes to that entity, and you are attributing the power of the creative process to that entity in that moment. And it's a deposit of energy every single time. So
See how this works?
you hold a
See
key
how
in
this
your
works?
hand.
Hey, George.
Yeah.
You have to realize this is how this works. When you start to get into something really powerful, all we're getting is like these fragmented sections from you at this point.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
No worries.
Yeah. So no, and what he's sharing is so true, because when I came back from the event in California that he just shared, I have had the most beautiful transition back into reality and to just who I am as a creator being. But it was so funny how many times I would hear OMG, OMG, just back to back to back to back. And I'm like, oh, really? Okay. And I was tuning it out, but it's so dominant. And what is really important, Gav, is, and this is what I feel George is trying to express. And George, you know that I lovingly allow you to correct me anytime you feel like it, because I just know that our relationship is like that. But the whole concept of just this one being, this is what I found so interesting about our relationship, Gavin, why I really wanted to support you in this, is because this whole concept of just there being one creator being it all falls into Christianity, into Islam, into Judaism, into the love and light, New Age kind of thing. It all goes right back into it, as to us having to find ourselves under this one source. And that's all that is. And I just felt like I wanted to, any way I could help you be free of that concept, I would love to support you in that. But I don't want to also push you in any way either.
No, I see what you mean. But being under that one source, like I said earlier, would be to put yourself in the character perspective and then looking up to a God of a higher power than yourself. Whereas I'm saying that you are the self. So you're not actually the character that you're in the perspective of. that's role playing.
Yeah, we're saying the same thing.
We are.
But are you but with
right.
your kind of creation, are they separate creators then, in the terms of being individual?
Yes.
Because you refer to multi-gods, don't you? So are they separate?
No, it's not multi-gods. Gods are a reference to a certain kind of creator beings inside of this universe. Again, it's the vibrational energy of the words that you're using. So we actually have to now be very particular about our languaging. I'm really sorry to be so pedantic and anal about it, but you need to understand that words are very powerful. You know, that's why you go to school and you learn how to spell, right? Because you've got to know how to cast your spells correctly. Because if you're not spelling correctly, you're going to cause issues in the way you create your timeline. So words are very powerful things. And so understanding how to transcend beyond the usage of the word God and the usage of, well, the ideology of there's only one creator that's created all of life. Once you get past those finite concepts, you smash it. It is just so liberating beyond reckoning by the ego construct. I just can't put it in words how beautiful it feels.
Okay, so you're saying there's not one creator and there's not separate creators. Is that correct?
No, I'm using the descriptive title of we are creator beings and that we're actually all infinite creator beings.
See, it's the we that stands out as being separate. With creators being beyond the creation, if they are we's in the sense that characters are we's, then they are separate, aren't they?
I'm not grasping what you're saying. I'm sorry, Gav.
Well, let me help here because I do know
Yep.
him. So
Yep.
here's the thing. Okay, I expressed this earlier. He is like, you know how you've shared the martyr kind of concept, George?
Yeah.
Okay, put Gav in that position.
Yeah.
Okay, so for him, there is a one source creator, and we're all aspects of that one source creator. However, he is so bent on proven individuality and fighting for what is good and evil that he's in contradiction with himself in a lot of ways. But he has such a good heart and passion for what he's doing. So he's stuck. And that he's just stuck right there.
No, what I'm trying to understand, I understand how you are viewing Gavin. That's a beautiful thing. What I want to understand is what Gavin just asked me about the we question, because I think his question is really, really important, not only for him, but for everyone who's listening. So I just want to understand, can I get Gavin to ask me that question again, please? Because I just went through a rain band and I couldn't hear him properly.
Yeah. It was, when you refer to we as being creators, in the same sense that we would apply to characters. So beyond the creation, if we are creators, does that imply that the we would be separate in the same way that characters could be two separate?
Yeah, we retain our individualization all the way through the infinite nature. There's no end to self.
When you say retain the individual nature, well, on a creation level, so at the point of creation...
On every level.
Or like I said, if individuality would exist on the creator level, it's still open up for conflict, isn't it? Because if all were to coexist or co-create, they would lose individuality, wouldn't they?
Sure. So what you're doing is you're looking at that from the competitive nature of life in this reality. And and in the grand cosmic arena of this universe, where the gods are very competitive towards one another and suffer from really serious ego issues. But when you go beyond the great void of this universe, so beyond the grand cosmic arena in all its dimensional realms, and the grand cosmic arena is also the multiverse, so you've got all these parallel light-based universes. So that's the grand cosmic arena. So when you go outside of that and you go into the realms of this overall light-based universe, where it's very, very harmonious and we're all in unity there, it's a totally different experience. There is no competition. There is no competitive nature. It only exists in the grand cosmic arena. And as far as I know, it only exists in the grand cosmic arena of this universe, the light-based universe. Because when I was in the infinite nature of life, and I was seeing out there how we all got our own universal creations out there, and each one of them's got its own construct. This one's made of light, and out there, our universes are all different constructs because they're different expressions of of a universal being. Therefore, it's a different construct. I didn't experience in any of that any sort of competitive nature like we do in this universe, because the way this universe is constructed, being energy, vibration, light, waveform, whatever you want to call it, harmonics, resonance, it is the universe of contrasting expressions. So you're trying to view the infinite nature of life from an aspect of you that is in one part of this universe. And that's why I'm saying letting go of everything you've ever known and reintegrating through your heart and your soul into your multidimensional nature in this universe, and therefore all the way to that part of where you're complete unity with the creator of this universe, and then through that, beyond that, into the infinite nature of life. Until you re-experience that, then you're only going to try and grasp the concept of it on an intellectual basis, and it's just so challenging to do that. You got to experience it. You got to embody it. You got to be it, and that's what more and more people are doing now.
That's why I was expressing what I was expressing earlier about Gav to you. I wasn't trying to overtake what you two were sharing with one another. That's always like me as like the mama bear trying to come out and like help each other understand each other. And I feel like he's so close, but he's stuck on that multiple creator thing.
So close, unbelievably close.
Yeah.
It's like it's the last threads. It's the last little hook that God entity has got in him. Because I do this all the time, you can see how many people are they're right on the precipice, right on the threshold of just smashing that, the glass ceiling of the cosmic matrix, of the God matrix. So close.
I mean, he's got it. He's got it.
He's got everything except that one creator thing.
Where's your Thor hammer?
Yeah.
But oh man, this has been amazing. I don't know. I want to be quiet now and let Gav say whatever he would like to say after that. But I just had to express that because I wasn't trying to overtake Gav. It's just that I've been having this conversation with him for years, and I just know that he's at the cusp.
Yeah, referring back to something you said about the creator of this universe. So, so George, you would say that this isn't your creation then, or it's one that you agreed to. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we chose to enter into this universal creation.
But it's not yours.
And to have this experience. No, and it's not yours.
So
it's somebody else's. But the unity we experience with this universal creator, when it's in the natural order, what we do is because our egos have been diminished, right? We've been tortured, diminished, pounded, we've been crushed. Our spirit's been crushed And we have this thing called addiction to significance, and anything that comes along that acknowledges us or makes us feel more fulfilled and important, our egos have this habitual nature to want to grasp onto it. And a lot of people, that's why, you know, I've met over 1,000 Jesus Christs already and 1,000 Mary Magdalenes in my journey, and it's unbelievable how many beings think they are something of significance in that way. Because when we integrate with the essence of the heart of the Christos, you become one with it, and then you are it. Do you know what I mean? And in that process of unity, it's such a full and rich experience, and we haven't ridden that bike for such a long time. All those parts of us of integrating in such a deep sense of unity, they've atrophied. And then when we do re-experience that, it's overwhelming, the experience, and a lot of ego constructs then latch onto the identity of it, and they think they're it.
So would you say that the creator of this creation is not experiencing it then?
Is it the creator? Sorry, say that again.
Would you say that you said that you weren't the creator of this experience, but you co-created to take part? So would you say that the actual creator of this creation wasn't taking part?
The creator of this this universal creation wasn't what? Sorry?
Would you, before you said that you weren't the creator of this creation, yet you contracted to take part in a sense of agreeing. So would you say that the creator wasn't taking part in it?
The creator wasn't taking part in it.
You said that I wasn't the creator of this creation, and nor were you.
That's correct. But our existence in it is a co-creation. So I'm not the creator of the universe.
Right.
There's a being who, from the infinite nature of life, decided to express itself as this universe. Then, from the infinite nature of life, we all decided to enter into its universal expression to experience what it's like to be inside this universe and to learn what it's like to create via the construct of light.
So if I can try and simplify it in a way that even someone like me can understand, is it like me building an assault course and then saying to you lot, off you go and have a play?
Correct.
But I'm going to stand back and watch, or stand back and not take part. Is it that kind of setup?
Well, responsible creator beings fully own, they're responsible for every experience any entity has. And they will experience everything any entity experiences that enter their creation. And they're not sitting up on high and pointing the finger down and conducting affairs from up there. Responsible creator beings, natural creator beings, not gods, but natural creator beings, get inside and experience their creation on every level, just like every other life that has entered their creation does. So they're no better than.
So the creator's playing the game as well, or participating?
Absolutely.
And the creator, and the
You bet
creator,
your ass.
well, and no, and the creator being in his own construct or her own construct, they can't be destroyed because they're experiencing their construct.
So then,
No, there are times when they have experienced the death process inside their own constructs. Absolutely. I mean, you know, the amount of realities that exist in this universe are countless, right? Literally countless. There's not enough numbers. There's not enough numbers to count the realities in this galaxy, let alone the entire universal construct. So, but the universal creator experiences every reality and experiences every experience because we are in unity with the creator of this universe. So everything you experience, the creator does. And it goes even further than that. We're actually ambassadors for star systems because of the fractal process. So You know, everything I think, everything I feel is not only an individual thing for my own spirit and consciousness and soul, I'm actually feeding back to entire star systems. And as I'm processing certain karmic charges in my life, those results of achieving unity and peace from differences that I have, let's say I have a person in my life that I have conflict with, well, in that moment, they're embodying the life force of one galactic system or star system, and I'm embodying the other. And because these two star systems out there in the galaxy are at war, we're playing out here in the arena in a fractal form the karmic charge between those systems. So we're ambassadors for star systems as well as for our own karmic obligations. There's a lot more going on here than people realise because of the fractal nature of the reality.
George, so you said you're positive that you're not the creator and I'm not and Patricia's not. Could you identify, or could the true creator be identified?
Everyone will know. If that being is on the planet right now, when the time comes, everyone's going to know. Not because it claims, and there's plenty of that going on, and there will be plenty more of that to come, and there will be gods that will turn up and claim that title, and my goodness, are they going to be convincing? So you better have that stash of popcorn in your cupboard because it's going to be an awesome show when that starts to happen.
Anyway.
But you will know inherently from within your own heart, soul essence, because that is where you are in unity with that energy, with that beingness.
I'm not going to fall for any higher being. It's not happening.
No.
It won't, because Gav will be like, damn it, that's me.
Exactly. I'm no higher than myself, nor am I no lower.
Yeah. So does anyone have anything they would like? I mean, George, thank you.
I'm going to unmute.
Well, this was such a...
Yeah, do you need me to hang around some more? Or
well,
Hang
on. I'm going to mute you for a second because I just want to say thank you for being here, because this was a very unexpected surprise. I'm actually, when I was creating this event, no, not this event. Oh, it wasn't this. It was the one that's coming up for you. People were asking if it was going to be live, and I said no. But when you showed up for this was just like amazing, because it was so unexpected. But I would love, if you want to hang around, it's completely up to you, if you would like to talk to anyone and answer questions, because there might be some that arise from you being here.
Well, I would like to take a step back. This is Gav's thing, and I've already feel like I've intruded quite a bit, but I will offer that if Gav wants to ask me any questions, I'll stay here. I'll let you know when I need to go, but still I'm on a long drive, so I want to listen, because I love Gavin as a being and what he has to say. So I'll be here if you want to ask me any further questions.
Okay.
Love
awesome.
to be here for you, mate.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I love Gav as a being too.
Thank you for the opportunity to come on, Patricia.
Oh, are you kidding? Thank you. Yeah, and thank you, Gav, for being so receptive. You were a trooper.
Been called worse.
You've been called worse than a trooper?
Oh, much worse.
No, I was saying you were doing great, because George was really challenging your belief system, so that was great.
It's good.
So anyone that wants to come on and share, please do. This is what this was about. It was supposed to be a discussion. This is not an interview. This is like everyone sharing what they want to share.
Can we get those in that haven't had a say yet, whether they're questioning or offering something? I'm not sure how many there are still left on, because I have to keep swiping, but whoever hasn't spoke, can they jump in? Or
yeah, anyone can talk that wants to. They're all free to unmute.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I'm not keeping anyone hostage.
Not yet, anyway.
Yeah. Ron, Natalie.
Who hasn't spoke? Who's on here and who hasn't spoke?
Jane, Paul, Tracy.
I'm still blown away by the fractals, actually. You know, that's just it, isn't it? Life is just a fractal. All experiences is just fractalic in nature, you know. So I'm still blown away by that. Yeah. I haven't a question though.
You have or you don't?
No.
Damn.
Have you read George's book?
For me?
Yeah, you, Tracy.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was very needed to read that book. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Made a lot of sense. A lot of perfect sense, really.
So you've read George's and Ron's book.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Actually, the two books I've read since around 2012 that I've actually read all the way through. Mm-hmm. It's like I'll pick up a book and it's almost as if I know it, you know, so I have to put it down. But actually, George's book and Ronald's book was just truth, you know. I just so highly resonate with them both.
Yeah, the same here for me.
Like you're supposed to meet people to you know, co-create, and there's always answers, you know, to who you are, and I felt both the books were like that. Really valuable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the first book I read was George's, and I was so anti-reading, and I could not put the book down, and I was just like, wow, this is confirming so many things that I have inside of me. And then after a while, I came in contact with Ron, just I guess because of our connection with George. And then I read his book, and I was like, wow, I really loved his book. And so that's why we started doing interviews together as well. And I feel like there's very many similarities between the two. So is there anything you would like to share, Ron?
No, I think pretty much everything's been said. I like what Drew was talking about. I think George answered a lot of Gavin's questions, and I think he's on a good path with it.
Okay. Jane?
Yeah, no, I'm just kind of still taking in what George was saying there, so I'm kind of just processing at the moment. I don't really have anything to add other than it's been very, very interesting, and it's helped me a lot with a lot of my questions as well. So the whole conversation backs and forwards has answered quite a lot of my own questions. So thanks very much for that.
Oh, you're welcome, and thank you for being here. And you know, I'm interviewing George on Wednesday, so any questions that come out of this, remember to ask.
Well, will do.
Yeah, and so Magda, you've been very quiet. Thank you, because I knew Magda is Gav's counterpart, and they have a very funny relationship. They're very dynamic with one another. So I didn't know how well this would work with them. But do you have anything you would like to share?
Not really. I think just maybe when it comes to referring to God, I find it's really sort of attached, obviously, to religion. I don't think God necessarily has to be attached to religion. I think it's just, as George said, it's just one of the words that we use to describe something that it's, you know, I don't know what synonyms would you use. Would you use creator? Would you use, I would use source. That is more sort of neutral than actual creator. Almost like maybe a cause and source, that sort of thing. You know, not necessarily a being that creates things. So, you know, we could come from one source, all of this, like, for example, all this universe, as George mentioned as well, and there might be nothing above that, literally nothing. So in a way, yes, we sort of come from one, sort of there is that not separation because we do come from one. At the same time, you know, is there actually something or someone that it does create, or does things actually happen because this, in a way of, you know, just a natural cause? So that's, but I'm at that stage of actually deciding where I am. So it's not something that I either believe or don't. It's still more of a way of thinking where I actually am, because obviously, I mean, it's a bit like you. I come from a family that sort of the beliefs are based on the Catholic Church, and obviously you believe certain things. At the same time, I find that I would believe stuff that the church would not allow sort of to believe. So that was the conflict sort of from early years. But at the same time, I do think we come from something. I do think we come back to the source, whatever that is. I wouldn't be able to define it. But when I say God, I wouldn't, even though I come from a sort of Catholic religion or family, I wouldn't refer to God as a creator in a way of, I wouldn't see necessarily the word of God being totally attached to the religion as such. So I think it's just a one word of using it. So I would probably try to find different words to defining God by using more neutral words to describe, that wherever we come from, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
Well,
as I say, yeah.
so you're still in a state of just questioning and exploring.
Yeah.
Which most of us
Yeah.
are anyway. We're still exploring.
Yeah.
So some of us have, like, for me, when someone asks me specific questions, I feel kind of stubborn, I guess, a little bit, because I have this like remembrance, and that remembrance is from experience. So I'm like, that is where I would call myself stubborn, and I wouldn't kind of waver from that, but it wouldn't make me challenge someone else's belief systems. I would still be open to that, because I remember being there too. And it doesn't mean that where I am now is better than where the person that I'm talking with is lesser than me. It would just mean that, like, I feel like we're at different places. And so I feel like that's what we constantly do with one another. We explore, we have different truth claims, and then we feel like, oh, we've arrived, and what you think is lesser than what I believe necessarily. Well, that's not the case. It's just that we're on our own. We came in at different times. We're going to exit at different times. And so we're going to be experiencing things differently. But it never hurts to take the awareness and knowledge that others have had or are having in their journey. Because I feel like every conversation that we have, every time we share, we are playing that role of acknowledgement and helping one another grow into where we're going. So that's just how I feel about it. And so what you just shared, I feel like I can really relate to that. And like, you don't have a definitive answer. You're just saying, like, look, I hear all perspectives, and I'm still questioning. Yeah.
I think it's more of a, coming from obviously family and obviously a country is quite religious, and it's sort of stuck in that one religion, although it's changing nowadays. I would say it's obviously evolving into different areas, but from thinking you believe into the God as we see it within the religion or this certain religion, I'm sort of at the stage, oh well, there either is something or there isn't. It's simple as that. If there isn't, it's simple. There isn't anything. It's as simple as that. So for example, we die, that's it, end of the story. But if there is something, and obviously from my experience, there are too many, I don't know, call it coincidences that happen, and weird things that happen, then obviously get you to question things more. Yet at the same time, you're sort of at that stage when you can't totally make up your mind where you actually are. So I do think there is some sort of source, and that could refer to anything, because as I'm saying, you could call it God, you can call it source, you can call it creator. Although for me, creator, it's got some sort of person attached to it. So it's more for the humans to see as I don't know, person or something, because of the creator and the suffix "r" it suggests as a person. For me, source is more neutral, cause is more neutral, which could potentially refer to maybe some law of physics, if that's correct, if that's the truth. Even the Big Bang or the very, very first, whatever that came from, that could be the source, and that still be accurate, because we would come from that. What was beyond that point, if it was nothing, that's still correct. So it's trying to find the universal thing that actually wouldn't, do you know what I mean? Like, find the universal sort of answer that would make sense, whatever question you ask, so the answer would be given would actually make sense.
Would you be okay with looking at the possibility that you aren't a creation, but that you are a creator of your reality? I mean, would you be okay with just question in that?
I think it would probably go back to the free will and determinism, which I think it's either the illusion of the choice, which I might think that I've got the choice. At the same time, I've got no influence in this reality on the outcome, which would support the determinism. In which case, I think, and going back to that theory, I think it's very clever because you actually can't fault it. When it comes to free will, you can actually find faults in it. When it comes to determinism, whatever you say, you can say it was meant to be like that, and you can't actually fault it. Because I might have a choice, I might make certain decisions, yet not necessarily I would have influence on the outcome of that. And if that's the case, it was determined, but who it was determined by, now that's another question.
Well,
So a bit of a chain reaction of questions and then finding answers to that, isn't it?
Yeah, well, so see, I've already blown determinism out of the water, because one of the things that came up when I was exploring, because I started looking at this for this conversation, and I've been like, you know, one of the things that comes up from determinism is if that your parents were abusive to you, then that would be like a natural for you to abuse your children, because that was what you were taught, that's what you learned, it becomes your genetics. But it was the very opposite for me. I was severely abused as a kid, and I was so conscious of that I made a choice to do differently. So then you would have to ask, is that determinism, or is that free will that obviously wasn't decided necessarily on this level, but it was something that was already co-created and agreed to for the experience purpose? So
but then even if it was agreed on another level to that experience, that doesn't deny the fact that it still could be determined by some higher, whatever that was.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, so that's what I'm asking you. Would you be willing to explore the idea that on a higher level, or on your greater being level, that you agree to co-create these experiences? Or do you?
And I would say maybe not co-create, but I would say maybe take part of it in it.
Okay.
Which would be slightly different. You see, like a few years ago, I was introduced to a book. I think it's written by Paul Newman, and it's about a journey of the souls. And he used to use hypnosis as a form of therapy. He used to refuse to take his patients beyond the time that they were actually born, so before the actual birth, because he always thought that the problem in current issues in their life lies either in childhood or in a sort of a teenage, years, that sort of thing. But he would refuse to go further, because there would be patients that would come in asking him to take them sort of to the previous life experience, and he would refuse doing that. But he found also that a lot of those experiences will be taken, sort of to the time between, if obviously to believe in reincarnation, that they will be taken into the time after their previous incarnation, sort of the character died, but before they were born again. So where are you stuck in between those things? And obviously that it's quite of a probably different sort of subject. But yes, he actually refers to saying that if we end up one sort of plane and go to in between, then there's always that area where we need to progress and learn through experience. And for that case, we would in a way choose the family that we are born into, but that would be reason for that. So even if you are born in a family that you are sort of, if you're abused or it's an unfortunate life, the progression outside this reality would be much faster and at a different level. The advancement would be totally different than if you were to have placid life, easy life. It's just totally different from experience. But at the same time, so basically what it's saying is, and that's based on all the sessions he had with his patients, he sort of collected it and obviously started noticing certain things that, were very similar, even though there were various different patients that actually weren't in any way linked to each other. But he was saying basically that as the children actually do choose the family, but there is a reason for that. So, which would support in a way what you're saying, that, even if it's a sort of unhappy or not a nice experience, it's still part of our choice, which would support the free will. But again, is there anything beyond that, almost like the third level of that would actually determine? Because I think when it comes to determining, you can still say, actually, if you apply that rule to anything, it could be said that it was determined. Whether it was determined by you slightly before you came here, or was that determined even before that by something else? Not necessarily someone, but something else. This is what I don't know. This is where I get stuck. I don't struggle to believe in or see the point of coming into this plane, think, you know, as a form of experience, even if it's not a nice one, because there is a reason for that. And it could carry on from the previous incarnations if to believe in reincarnations again. But I think the determinism itself, it's a very clever thing, because if you think about it, you can't actually fault it. There can always be something above your free will that you might say, well, it was actually determined by it. And it wouldn't, and it can't be any different because it's already happened. So the chances of it happening in a different way, well, they're very small, because actually they're to zero pretty much, because they already happened. You can't change that. If you know what I mean.
So this is our.
So there's a twist. This is why I struggle, because I didn't get to the point where I, no, okay, well, I get as far. I understand this, and then I get stuck, because it seems to be. But I think, yeah, I think determinism will probably be, as I'm saying, less likely to be faulted than free will. I think they might sort of exist at a certain level. They can exist at the same level. So yeah, you know, I could have chosen this carnation for a reason, so I've determined it. But has anybody put me into this position to make me feel like I've made that choice? Well, I don't know.
See, so you know, see, that's where it gets back to. For me, it's like there was a time when I thought that I was created and that this was a predestinated journey that was outside of me. And then I started to remember my experiences and how I came to be in this reality. And so then I knew that it was my creation and my co-creation with this universal creator. And so it became clear to me. But then I don't want to take away from someone that is not at that point yet. But I would love if George is able, with what Magda just shared, if you have anything that you could express to her that you feel would be beneficial to her, that would be awesome.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Okay, just want to make sure that you got the audio happening. So my experience of it is that from outside of this universe, I chose to come into this universal creation. And the aspect of me that integrated with the being or the intelligence or whatever you want to call it, that created this universe, that is this universal creation, that there's a unity there, there's a love, it's an integrated unity. And that part of me that is in the integrated unity, that to me is what I call soul. It's the grandest aspect of my existence in this universe, and is the aspect of me that is total unity with the universal creator. The one thing I don't do is use the word God, because that word was given to us by the priestly caste, and I know the priestly caste are sorcerers. I know that for a fact. So I'm not interested in their deities. I only want what's real. So when I reference the being who is the creator of this universe, I use descriptive titles as the creator of this universe. I don't give it a name. I'm only using descriptives. So that's how I go about it. And when it comes to my free will, well, the aspect of me that is my soul, and my soul is the aspect of me that is beyond consciousness and beyond spirit. Because spirit and consciousness are projections from my soul into my creative process in this universe. And then my entire existence in this universe, in every... Sorry, it sounds like someone's scratching something. So my entire existence in this universe is a co-creative process between me and the being who is the creator of this universe, and all the other beings that I have all these wonderful experiences with. And it's challenging for my ego mind to come to terms with the magnitude of orchestration or design that is going on, but I know wholeheartedly that this is an intelligent universe, it's an intelligent being expressing itself as this universal creation. And I've already had my own personal experiences where not only in 2003 where I reintegrated my soul and actually experienced what it was like to be the universe through that process of integration and unity in one go, but also just being in another dimensional plane on this planet and just putting my attention to a being, and then within a split second, less than a fraction of a second, knowing everything about that being in the entire journey in this universe, every single expression, every dimensional realm, in an instant. Now, there is no artificial intelligent power that can process that amount of knowledge, information, and energy in that period of time. So we're dealing with a state of beingness and a level of intelligence which is so beyond reckoning. And the only way you can come to terms with it is by reintegrating with the aspects of self that are in unity with it, and then re-experience it, relive it, and be it once again. That's and then the difference between determination and free will, determinism and free will. I think if we get to that place of saying, hey, I'm a creator being, I've created this, and the difference between acknowledging that you're a creator being and not is the difference between owning your experiences, taking responsibility for them, or continuing to play the victim and wanting to think that you're just a victim of circumstance. So these are the key factors. These are the deal breakers for me. All my experiences, as horrendous as they have been, I own them all, and I created them all, no matter how horrendous and torturous the suffering was. And by doing that, it has enabled me to heal, to transcend, to alchemize, to cultivate the wisdom from, and it's turned me into, it's helped me become the man I need to be in the world today, or the person, or the being.
Yeah, thank you.
If that helps.
Yeah, thank you. Would you like to add anything, Magda?
I think I would say, just again, as I think George said before, be careful with the words. That's what I'm still not convinced about the creator thing, because of implying that someone is making something, right? But if I use the word source, for me, that is sort of, if George was to refer to it as soul, that's fine, because soul could be a source. They can be interchangeable in a way. You see, that I don't see the conflict over there. I think source is quite neutral, which would support. Again, that's one of those things you can't actually say no. It's inaccurate, because if I say we come from a source, that's still true. Whatever you go to, and different people obviously would define the source in a different way. For some, it would be God. For some, it would be creator. For some, it would be something else, whatever that is.
Well, for someone, source might be yourself.
Oh, absolutely. It's the way how you define it, but you can't fault that. You see, if that's true, if you stick to God or creator, I think there is a different sort of attachment when you think about those words. I just find the way.
I'm not using the word God and creator together. To me, there's the creator of this universe, and then there's the God of religions. And God is the deity of the priestly caste. It's not the creator of this universe.
No, although in religion they do refer to God as a creator. If they were to define God, they would say, well, it's the creator of everything, isn't it? So that's what I'm being careful, because obviously, if I was, as you said, you refer to it as soul, and I think that's more probably accurate from my point of view, because if you say to somebody who's maybe not into so much into those things, but not necessarily into religion either, if you say God, they might or creator, they might associate those two together. Where if you say source or soul, that's slightly different to me, which is makes it more true and more accurate. because it's perhaps maybe because it could be more individual to, you know, to various people. But the question I've got, for example, when it comes to creating, for example, your experience, and then, okay, I came to this plane, I've learned what I've meant to learn, or I've healed what I've supposed to be healing. Question is, do I keep on coming back and then keep on bringing new experiences? Is there an end to those experiences that I can be, well, going through? What is the ultimate end of, so is there a chance for me to experience all of that is possible to experience? And if that's the case, what's at the end of it?
Yeah, it's not a never-ending cycle, even though it can feel that way sometimes. I'll speak on my behalf. My journey through this process, like entering into this galactic realm and then into the solar system and then onto Earth and having these human experiences, is a process. And I'm getting towards the end of that process. And it's a process of reintegrating all of the expressions of self, all my, and it's the only word I like to use for it is my creative process, because I created all my experiences in this universe, and in harmony. So it's a co-creation with the being who is this universal creation, but also all the other beings who created all these different realms. So I know I've got my own galaxy. So I'm a galactic being. I also know I am countless stars in countless galactic systems. I know I am countless planets in countless galactic systems. So the way I experience this creation, this universal creation, is it's not the creator creates like a big fun park and just we, these individual spirits, come in and just jump around from one park to another. We are also, the way this universal creator works is it's a co-creative and a participatory process. So we get to create as we go along. And all the stars you see out there are us. All the galaxies you see out there are us. It's all the universe that you see out there, the stars and the galaxies, that's not just the universal creator creating those. No, that's us expressing ourselves as galactic paradigms, as star beings, as planetary beings. Because these are all different expressions of the energy of light, and by entering into this universe, we're entering into this wonderful process of learning what light is, what it's about, and then how to go about creating life through that construct that we call light. So I
think we lost him.
Was just wondering if the next question was, you know, whether George thinks that.
don't know if that helps.
Oh, you're still right. Yeah, whether would you say then that at the end of this process that you are going through, and you said you're heading towards the end of it.
Hello?
Yeah, and then you're going to have the galaxy. Would you say that you would come back to your source or your soul? Would you make?
Yeah. So I know I'm at the end of the process, because in this lifetime I've already consciously reintegrated with my soul, and also the infinite nature of life. So I've closed the loop.
So there is a little. Sorry, I've dropped my phone.
So, in a linear perspective, looking at it from a linear journey, I've closed the loop. So I'm whole again, and I'm home.
So then you can say that the statement, you know, we go back to the source at the end of a journey, is correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Just the important factor in all of that is what is, when you use the word source, what are you referring to? So that's the key factor right there. Because a lot of people interchange the word source for God. So they're still referring to God, but they're just using the word source.
Right. They're just, it's like saying, just go with Christianity. In Christianity, we're told that Jesus and God and the Holy Spirit are one. And if you try to dissect that, they'll say, well, no, you can't, because it's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. And the Father came down, he died on the cross, and his Spirit is the Holy. So you get that kind of concept when it comes to religion. So when you're talking about source, if you take it to the religious connotation, then you're right back into a religious paradigm.
Well,
Yes. So I can use the word source, but I know when I intend it, I'm referring to the infinite nature of life. And I understand what that means. Does that help?
You know what, George, I feel like right now, and I felt this since the last election, but even after the eclipse, and then more so like in the last few weeks, I have just felt this really intense energy of this religious God being coming back in full force. In fact, people that are denouncing where they had left religion, they're now denouncing the fact that they left religion. They're going back, and they're saying that they are apologetic, and they're quoting scriptures, and they're going right back into an extreme religious paradigm. So I feel like this is something that's going to be a bit of a struggle right now.
Massive.
To try to communicate.
Massive struggle, because the God entity is freaking out that so many people are waking up. So they're trying different tactics and different approaches to get people to come back into that program.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's the vibrational field on this planet is going to get to a point where none of those constructs will be able to exist here. None of them. And right at the moment, it's like a great cleansing that's taking place. So all the falseness, all the false ideologies, because, you know, this God entity, technically speaking, is spiritually molesting every man, woman, and child on this planet. It is disgusting from a universal perspective, if you were to see it from beyond this reality and look back onto this planet to see what this God is doing to the human race. It is absolutely disgusting. For real. And I'm not exaggerating. To see the level of molestation that's going on is unbelievable. And, you know, I've got to hold back because, you know, when you integrate with the true nature of life, you become really totally one with it, like unity. You embody it. So I feel what Mother Earth is feeling. I feel what the collective group soul essence of humanity as a whole, as a single organism, is feeling, being molested in this way. So it's, you know, these aren't intellectual concepts. These are real life, first-hand direct experiences through an integrated state of being to understand what is actually happening to our planet and our humanity. And it is really, really disgusting. So that energy is now in the process of being forced out of this reality. And it's being forced out in many ways. But the most important way it's being forced out is our humanity and Mother Earth in a symbiotic process, all of us together coming back home to the true nature of what it means to be in love with life, in that unity of love with our own soul, with our mother planet, with the sun, with the galaxy, with the universal creation itself, and all the way through the infinite nature of life. That is the process of change that is taking place, and it's happening from the inside out. And so I you know, the world is going to get really dark, but I have no fear about it whatsoever, because we've got this. We have so got it. And anytime Mother Earth wants to flex her muscle, she will. And really, there's so many beings on this planet that are going to step into their power, and the energy that will emanate from those beings will just change this reality so quickly. It's going to be an amazing process, and you'd be surprised at babies that have been born in our world today, what they are capable of. Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just look at us. I mean, look at us here. You know, I mean, all of us are kind of introverts. There's not many people that I know in this room that are like wanting to go public. And here we are, we're putting ourselves out there and we're expressing ourselves, and we feel uncomfortable because we're being challenged. But at the same time, we know that what we're creating here is important for the lifting of the veil, for the realizations to come through, for all of this, the darkness that we've co-created to be exposed, and for us to go back to our organic nature. And so this is what we're doing. And I say this all the time, we're like a walking contradiction because we've created the most beautiful and we've created the most evil. And we're learning from both aspects of it. And at this point, it's just, for me, it's about owning my responsibility, remembering who I am and how I came into this incarnation and what my experiences are supposed to be, my role that I'm playing. And just even what we're doing right here, this was something that for me, it was just about allowing everyone to be able to share their voice in a way that you couldn't feel comfortable to do this in the everyday scenarios that we live our life out, you know? That's all. Gav? Did I mute you? Let me see.
Yes, you did.
Sorry.
A few things stood out just then. Firstly, when George was saying that it's disgusting, was he speaking from the perspective of the little George when he was saying that little George, big George? Because to accept the creation at the contract level, then you have to take, like I say, you have to take responsibility for everything that unfolds. So to think that it's disgusting, when you have more of a neutral view of the whole picture, if you're willing, happily willing to participate. Like I'm saying, wouldn't it be equally disgusting and equally beautiful at the same time?
Okay, can you hear me again?
Did you miss that, George?
No, I heard your question. I heard your comment.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so I'm sorry. I'm very much multi-dimensional, and I forget that sometimes I've got to say, now I'm coming from this level when I say something, and then now I'm coming from this level when I say something. So,
yeah.
Usually I'm just blending from one perspective into another, and so when I say that absolutely disgusting is from the drama that's playing out in the grand cosmic arena, that level, cosmic level egos constructs like gods.
Yeah, I interpret that as
extraterrestrial level.
From a person's perspective, yeah. I got you. And also, I agree with the victim and the responsibility. I don't think they can both exist. If you accept responsibility, then that removes the victim mindset. I'll go with that.
Yeah, and it's not so black and white because it's multidimensional. So it's understanding that all of these expressions are existing simultaneously. You can fluctuate in and out of them. So you don't leave one and go to completely and then go to another. Your experience of this reality can change, right? And the way, like your awareness residing in this reality can actually change the way it experiences this reality. And it does. It's doing it every moment, every day, right? And I love that. So my life has become a lot more ease and grace than it was before. A lot more, like, it's almost no comparison now, really. So, yes, I'm having a totally different experience of it, but all of that pain and suffering is in this world is still all around me, and I still feel it because I'm integrated with this world.
And
but what I'm not letting it do is overwhelm me. So I'm not a new ager or a new cager where you create this sterility about your life and you're only in the positive and you're only, that's a totally a selective version of oneness. It's a collective hive mind. It's a very closed system, and that's not real oneness. That's not unity. Unity and oneness is integrating with all life, no matter what its expression, and having the capacity to integrate with it and be one with it and feel it and know what it's like to be it. And that's true oneness.
Yeah, and so George, I feel like what Gav was trying to ask you when you said that what is going on right now is disgusting. I feel like what his question, because there was kind of like a moment when you kind of broke up, I feel like he was trying to express to you, so when you say it's disgusting, but there's also no victim and there's no abuser in the sense that that's a permanent situation, that those are roles that we're playing. He wanted to know if that was coming from the small George or the big George. How did you interpret that? And I don't think you answered that exactly for him when you were sharing that.
It came from small, like Earth ego George, and also cosmic ego George, not soul. So, but it also came from the aspect of me that's inside the drama of this world and inside the drama of the cosmic arena where the gods reside. Right? So, to think that only on Earth there's ego problems is a delusional state. Gods have egos, otherwise they would not solicit worship. They wouldn't make claims like, I'm the creator of all that is and all that exists. They wouldn't make those egoic insanity-based claims. They wouldn't do that. So we need to understand that the grand cosmic arena, in all its different dimensional realms, still has distortions in the self, in the identity, which we call ego.
Mm-hmm. Even in the fact that someone would claim themselves as a god.
Yeah, well, I've already played the role. Like, these are all offices of position, so I've already been a god in the grand cosmic arena. I've already played that role. Just about everybody I know on this planet has, and there's lots of people that remember it. I'm not the only one, by the way. And we remember being angels in service to the light of gods. We remember being ascended masters. We remember being extraterrestrials fighting in wars, flying spaceships. We have so many memories of our journey through this universe, because it's been our journey through this universe. And it's been an incredible journey. Mm-hmm. And this whole process of this galaxy and solar system and the Earth and the human form here, this fractal compression pathway is about reintegration into unity. So I'm coming from that point of view of, we are outside the drama and we are inside the drama. And the part of me that's inside the drama, I will never not feel, because I'm not going to put up these walls and become somehow disconnected and not feel life. Yeah, I will always feel life until I choose to exit this universe altogether, and that time will come as well.
Mm-hmm. That makes so much sense to me, because well, you know my life, that makes so much sense to me. So, Gav, anything else you would like to share, or anyone else?
Yes. Going back to a point George mentioned a minute ago, with that, the God that's having the disgusting influence, is that a part of the contract agreement as well? Or is that a distortion that wasn't part of the agreement that we're all supposedly fighting against to correct?
Okay. Good question.
Yeah, it's a good question. There's different levels of agreement. When it comes to soul level agreement, nothing exists outside of that. Nothing. So that was always going to happen. Now, there's agreements that happen with aspects of the cosmic ego. It's like, I say to people, no, you chose to come to this world and have an incarnation. They go, no, I don't. I clearly remember being ordered by my overlord to come and incarnate on Earth. I'm just saying, and I was like, okay, I get that cosmic level. I said, but on a soul level, you chose to come here. Oh, no, 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 no. And they just cannot come out of the victimhood and own their own existence and own their own creative process. They refuse to do that because the victim archetype is just way too strong in that person at the moment. And you're not going to change them in like 5 minutes. It ain't going to happen. So I'm using that as an example to show you that there's different levels of agreements that get made, you know, at different times. Yeah. So there's people that say it wasn't supposed to be like this, and I've found myself saying that as well. Yeah, throughout the years, it was never meant to be like this. But then when I tune in and I feel into that aspect of me that's actually saying that, it's a cosmic level of my being.
Okay.
If I can just quickly ask, because I was thinking very similar thing actually to Gav, which was basically if we are all creators and we all take part in creating the reality, haven't, and then referring to the God, it being disgusting, haven't then we all participated in actually creating him?
Yes.
Because then clearly there must have been a purpose for creating him. And when we say like it wasn't meant to happen that way, well, clearly it must have meant to happen that way because it already happened.
Mm-hmm.
There's a very clear and definite reason and purpose for a God to exist. Because of the nature of this universe. The nature of this universe is contrasting expressions. So if you have a being who is the creator of this universe, then you must, by the very nature of this universe, have a being that is not of this universe enter this universe and claim to be the creator. The beauty of this universe is it will dissect you from the inside out, and it will show you all of your insecurities, your fears, your shadows, and that's why people are so frightened to own their own creative process, their own journey, their own free will decision and choice to enter this universe and journey through it and become a part of the process, because they're going to be shown all their shadows and all their shortcomings, and people can't handle that. So they then have to fall out of grace of themselves and become subservient in some external construct of belief system and ideology to then blame something else, somewhere else, and they will do everything in their power, not because they haven't the capacity to deal with their own creative process, the responsibility of it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I can remember even in my journey when I was trying to be righteous, like if I was in religion and I was trying to prove myself to be this perfect being, that I fought the most hard against the things that were a part of myself. Like I protested the very aspects of my being that I did not like. And those were my insecurities and my fears also.
Yeah, I know that very well. That one.
Mm.
But I'm very happy how this this conversation turned out, and it has really been clarifying. And it's also thanks to Gab and you, Patricia, that it was possible. But it was really wonderful.
Well, you're welcome, and thank you for being here, Paul.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. It's
Yes,
nice to
thank
see you
you.
again, brother.
Thank you, George. I'm so grateful for all the inspiration you have met.
Yeah, it's lovely. You're looking well, mate.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting when we look at the things that we just really are afraid of in this reality, the things that feel so intrusive and abusive and disruptive, we can, if we're really honest with ourselves, we can look back at different points in our lives when we were that person. And we can see that by many choices that we make in our life. But sometimes we don't want to own that, because we do want to go back to the innocence and the purity of what we are organically. But that's not what we're here to experience. We're here to experience duality and all that comes with that. So, you know, just for me, in having this conversation with Gav and everyone that's present, I really appreciate it. But also for Gav, I really want to go back to him, because this was all, you know, something that was really important to him. And I want to know how you feel after the discussion we've had tonight.
It's kind of advancement on all the discussions we had on Facebook, pretty much.
Okay.
I don't think we've met any more in the middle, although it's been beneficial, if you know what I'm saying. We still kind of stand where we always stood, if you know. But it was interesting to look at the language as well, because when I was saying one creator, maybe that was taken as a limited or finite value or measurement, if you know what I mean.
Well, I do. I feel like I do agree with you that there is a prime creator of this universe, and that we're co-creating with that creator. But it doesn't take away from the fact that I'm a creator beyond this universe. And I feel like that's where we've always kind of split off. And I never was trying to persuade you otherwise, and you were never trying to persuade me. We were just having this great conversation. And I feel like you just wanted to be able to have it in a group environment. And I was just really happy that George decided, of all the conversations that I've had since the beginning of 2017, that he showed up here. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else at all?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not come to me.
But this has been great. So anything else that anyone needs to say, or should we say goodnight?
I'm not for more questions.
Good night is good.
Jane, you wanted to say something?
Oh, I just wanted to say good night here because of the time differences. It's very late here, so I apologise. I've been yawning, but I've been taking everything in, and I've really enjoyed it. I just want to say thanks to everybody, and I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome, and thank you.
And it's nice to see a lot of faces that I've talked to on Facebook, but I've never actually had a chance to say hi before.
Yeah.
Hi. Okay, we'll talk again.
Yeah.
Thanks, Patricia.
You're welcome. Love you.
Bye now.
Jane.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Thanks. Thanks, George.
Bye-bye. I just wanted to say on closing that, you know, I truly feel I've found the magic in this world. And so many people want to call it a dark place, a prison planet, we're all just a bunch of lowly sinners. What else? They call it a flat earth. They call it a hologram, a computer simulation, and all these narratives coming from all different angles are all saying they all have exactly the same agenda. And they're all designed to diminish Mother Earth and her humanity and what's being achieved here. And it becomes obviously clear that there is a cosmopolitical, multi-dimensional cosmopolitical agenda to diminish the human race and to sever us from our mother planet. And when you're severed from your foundational reality that you chose to become one with and have an experience inside of, then that's when it gets really tricky. And there's a reason for that severing. It's because there's an intended harvest that is pending. And I just want to say, stay with the magic in this world. This world is the most powerful crucible of alchemy in the universe. You will go through more changes and transmute more energy in this place than anywhere else. And I know it's challenging to be here, but there's a threshold point where it goes from alchemizing all these challenges, and then there's a precipice, a critical mass gets reached, and all of a sudden you blend into ease and grace. So if you just weather the storm and stay true to yourself, you'll transcend the, if you want to call it, the darkness and the misery, and you will just come into this beautiful, magical world. And you view this world from a place of unconditional love, and you understand people are having their journeys. Babies are crying, babies are starving. You understand all the misery and suffering in this world because you understand your own first. And you realize that everybody's on their journey having their experiences. And this whole world was set up so all these different experiences can be had in one planetary reality. It's amazing. So stay with the magic and hold steady, because this place is going to get really dark. You ain't seen nothing yet. It's going to get really ugly. But staying in the magic and knowing that you're a creator being means that we get to create the new reality moving forward. And we create a reality that's out of phase of the very dark and unfortunate realm that is also being created here. So we're not a victim of circumstance. We're actually very empowered creator beings. So I just wanted to close with that.
Thank you, George. Gav, you get the final close.
Are we all cleared off, are we? I was happy to stay a bit longer.
I mean, is there anything else you want to say?
If everyone's finished, then yeah, I would just say everyone's truth that they have in the current moment is true. Even though it appears to be opposing or conflicting, I see it as the mind paths and the belief systems are all set out. So wherever you are in your path now, that is, well, determined and true. So row your boat gently down the stream, merrily, 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 life is but a dream.
And that's your grand finale.
That'll do for starting, mate.
All right. All right. Well, it's been great. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to say? Because I always like to give everyone an opportunity to say anything before I shut down for the day. All right. Well, it was fun, and I appreciate everyone being here, and thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Yes.